But let's, of course, begin with prayer. That's how we should begin everything, right? And among the many pages you have, you should have an opening prayer called Searching for God by St. Anselm. And we'll say that together. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. O Lord, my God, teach my heart this day where and how to seek you, where and how to find you. You have made me and remade me. You have bestowed on me all good things that I possess, and still I do not know you. I have not yet done that for which I was made. Teach me to seek you, for I cannot seek you unless you teach me, or find you unless you show yourself to me. Let me seek you in my desire. Let me desire you in my seeking. Let me find you by loving you. Let me love you when I find you. Amen. All right. Well, welcome everyone as we begin. It seems it's been a long time for those of us since we last gathered. Maybe, today is going to be pretty much administrative kind of stuff, not entirely, but just kind of explaining the lay of the land. We'll do introductions in a minute, but let me introduce the team, because we have some team members that faithfully come week after week and work hard to make this happen. I'll start with the guy running around. I call him you all know the movie, The Wizard of Oz. You've all seen that movie. You know the man behind the curtain? That's him, right there, Bob Denoncourt. He's the man. He turned out to be a phony. We all saw that movie. He's the man behind, but he pulls the levers and things happen. So Bob will introduce himself. He'll also tell you where you could find all this paper is posted online. So I guess it is conceivable that if you do have a tablet and bring it with you, we could maybe. I didn't know how many copies to make.
I get the papers in advance.
Don't need to guess, that's right. I will make sure he does that.
It takes me about 2 days to upload the video of the class and the paper handouts.
So we'll talk about, Bob will tell you about all the administrative stuff and how to find a website and everything else. Once he gets, make sure you fill out that sign-up sheet with the email and text number and whatnot, and then he can message you, text you, or whatever your preference is for all of that. And then, yeah, that's.
Anybody else need to be added?
Christy, who just spoke, is another team member here. She actually, there's a name for her. We have a name for her in the Catholic Church. She's called a saint. Her name is Saint Christy. So if you touch her, your hand turns into a second-class relic, you see. So you may want to shake hands with her or do something. And if she's very kind, she'll give you a clipping of her hair, and you'll have a first-class relic of a saint.
I've got plenty of that.
I don't. And then we have the rabbi. Andy Decker is our rabbi and our expert on the law, both the Torah and other kinds. So they'll all introduce themselves. And for those of you, I think everybody knows me. I'm Deacon Henry. I think I know everybody here. Why don't we go? My wife Carol is going to be here very soon. She's giving blood, so she'll get here as soon as she's done with that. She said she might even be on time, but nope, sorry.
After today's homily, she realizes this kind of blood is not made for herself.
So why don't we go around the room and do some introductions, and since most people, or a lot of people anyway, kind of freeze up and don't know what to say, I've given you some prompts here on what you might want to say. I have to say, all the years I've been doing this, I've never had to say this until last year. I learned the lesson the hard way to keep it under maybe 5 minutes at most. Because those who certainly here last year know there were two people in the room. Once they got the microphone, would not give it back. And they went on and on and on and on. And that's wonderful. You know, that's why we're here. But you know, keep it under, I mean, most of you are going to keep it under a minute probably. But so I'm Deacon Henry. I've been at this parish, I'm not even sure how long. I've been ordained 19 years and spent 1 year in the Florida Panhandle at a parish there, and then about 4 or 5 years at the Catholic Student Center at St. Augustine's there in Gainesville, and then moved here. So I've been here, you know, maybe 15 years or somewhere around there, 14, 15 years, something like that. I am now retired. Okay? I retired at the beginning of this calendar year. For 40 years, I was a professor of electrical engineering, 30 of those years at the University of Florida. That's how deacons don't get paid. So that's how you have to put food on the table and pay the mortgage and stuff like that. I was a professor for 40 years. I'm married to Carol. Carol said she would be here. I'm sure she'll be here shortly. I'll let her introduce herself. We have one daughter who now lives in Pittsburgh. I think she's 28 years old, 28, 29, something like that. But anyway, she lives in Pittsburgh. We have a poodle, 16 years old. So, what else would you like to know about me? You'll find out more about me as we go. Maybe we'll start with the team. Andy, you want to go next?
Well, the introduction.
Well, that's just only if you don't know what to say. You don't need that sheet. You don't need a sheet.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Andy Decker, and I sometimes teach you some of the classes, especially the ones on theology of the body, the Trinity, and the Blessed Virgin Mary. I've been married to my wife Rose for 51 years. We have 2 children. They're both lawyers, as I am, which means just about every niece, nephew, uncle, cousin in the Decker family is a lawyer, which tells you that we're not really capable of doing anything useful with our lives. But nevertheless, we try. Got about 10 grandchildren. I'm still working full-time. I'm a Hamilton County attorney. I was born in California, raised mainly in the Washington, D.C. area. I lived in Live Oak, Florida, which is kind of in the heart of cracker, redneck Florida. That's 50 years almost. My main interests and hobbies are my family, practicing law, the church. I love the church and everything it has to offer and teach. I've been coming to, I taught at RCIA in another church for 6 years. I've been coming to this class for about 6 years, because every time I come, every year, I learn something new. I learn something that takes me deeper and deeper into my faith, and all the mysteries and wonders of our faith become clearer and clearer, and it's just a wonderful experience. So I come here for 2 reasons: one, to learn, and one, to help out in any way I can by teaching what's called upon. So that's basically who I am.
Christy.
Is that 5 minutes or?
That's good. No, that's good.
I'm Christy Howard. I've been a parishioner here, I'd say about 5 years. I was living prior to this area in the Ormond Beach area, and I got engaged and married in the Ormond Beach area, and right after that moved to this area to my husband. He's a security officer at Shands. And so we moved over here, and I've been really enjoying being a parishioner here at St. Madeline's. Pretty much right after I got married and living in this area, I was spending more time with my husband's family, and most of them are more on the Protestant side, Baptist side, and so I started getting questions about my faith, and I felt like I didn't have enough knowledge to really provide a good answer and response, and I was feeling frustrated, and I felt like I needed to work on that myself. So I, one day after Mass, came up to Deacon Henry and started asking him some questions on some help. And he said, why don't you come to RCIA class at the time at RCIA? That's a great idea. I was baptized and confirmed and received my the first Holy Communion when I was a baby, because I was baptized in the Orthodox Church. My mom's Orthodox. And so I never really went through anything like this before, and it was really eye-opening and just so helpful. And I've been coming ever since, and Deacon also has asked if I had any interest in teaching some topics, so I've picked up a few along the way on confession, the liturgy, or the liturgical calendar, and the way of the cross. And what else about me? I have a stepdaughter. She's 19. She lives in New Mexico with her mother. And I have an older brother, 4 boys. And I love the outdoors. That's it. I usually go in my spare time going fishing on my husband's boat or helping him in the garden.
Thank you. Member of our team.
I've been up at the parish for almost 14 years, and I've been trying to assist Deacon Henry at OCIA for maybe 7 or 8 years. I do the web page for the church, but I also do a web page for the RCIA, and both of those web addresses are on the business cards I passed out. On the web page for RCIA, you will always see a recording of the class, because Deacon Henry gives us so much information, you need some time to listen to it a second time. And
If you have insomnia.
yeah, all of that, yes. I also have all the handouts all of the time, which means even if you don't need it for you, you could pass this on to friends who might be interested in what we're doing here. Along with me, I have a daughter here in High Springs with her husband and 3 children. And I have another daughter who goes to the San Juan Mission. She's in O'Brien with her husband and 10 children. We don't see her much. Oh, no, it's not. Most of her kids are grown now. It's getting kind of sad. And I also have 2 more kids up in San Antonio. When I say kids, they're all adults now. The youngest is 20. So if you have any questions on the website, that's me. If you have any questions on religion, that's the deacon.
All right, thank you, Bob. So though that is our team, and we do work as a team. Let's go start back over here maybe, and for those who introduce yourself, and even though I know you, but maybe some don't.
My name's Tim Powers. I'm a member of the parish here for about 12 years. Vice chair of the parish council, also on the council for the outreach program. I brought someone here to become a Catholic, and so I'm here to watch. And I'm glad to see everyone here. Thank you very much for all being here.
Brandy, Diane?
Good morning, I'm Diane Hare, and we've been at this church a little over a year now. We retired in 2010, and we stay pretty busy with a lot of different interests. We like to sew, in particular clothing and quilts, and we used to like to garden and do whatever. I serve on the finance council with Christy, who is our chairman, and she took that out. And I've been doing some volunteer work in the office, and we're just so thankful to be part of this community of St. Albans.
Randy?
So Randy here, essentially born in Florida, but raised in New England. Got in the Air Force, moved around a little bit, met my spouse in Hampton, Virginia, got married there. Air Force, in all their infinite wisdom, said you're going to Florida, so that's how I got to Florida. And essentially I'm an adamant type of person, not afraid to try anything. And it's gotten me in a lot of trouble. But essentially, I do a little volunteering in the office. I've got a lot of hobbies. I'm a radio operator. I also like to do woodworking, but I don't have time for that anymore. And got other interests, shooting, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a little bit about me. In the Air Force for a period of time, 10.5 years. Got out to help our overseas directors. We did that for 32 years. So that's where our
My name is J.J. Birchall. I'm from Live Oak, Florida, born and raised in West Palm Beach, Florida. Joined the military in the 60s, United States Coast Guard. Flew on C-130 Hercules, and was with the airlines. I'm a retired airline pilot. And after 40 years, and I was away from the church for an extended period of time during my flying years, and recently been back for the last 12 or 14 years. And I'm here to extend my knowledge of the Catechism and then the Bible, and just to get myself rearranged and realigned with the Catholic way of thinking. Like I said, I'm from St. Francis over in Live Oak, and I commute from over here. And I got 2 children, 2 grandchildren, and 1 great-granddaughter. And that's about it.
Okay, that's a lot. Thank you. John?
Hi, good morning. My name is John Laskowski. Laskowski is short Irish. Anyway, we moved here about 4 years ago. I've been a member of St. Louis for 4 or 5 years, 45 years. That's right. My wife's name is Barbara. We've been married for 60 years. My wife decided after 80 years being a Catholic that she no longer could believe. And I'm here for one reason, to try to gain more knowledge to help her come back to the church. We've been around the world. I was not around the world, around this country quite a bit. We had 2 businesses. One was in Arizona and one was in Alaska. I have 2 sons. One is here in Gainesville, one is in Colorado. My son in Colorado has 6 children, and my son here in Gainesville has 2 children. We moved here. We were in Colorado. Funny story. My wife and I were in Palatka running our business, solar business. My son called one day and said, Grandpa, guess what? Number 6 baby is on the way. 6 children. Would you consider, now that you're retired, would you consider moving to Colorado to help us with the baby? So we sold everything, sold the house and furniture and everything, because they wanted us to live with them and be part of their family. They had a big house, so we moved. So we moved to Colorado, and the baby was born. And for 9 years, my wife and I helped with the baby and the family. They both work. She's a teacher, and he's been a career electrician for most of his adult life. So after 9 years, my wife just didn't like Colorado because of the cold winters. We were in Florida before, so she says, let's go back to Florida. We wanted to be by our other son here in Gainesville. So that's how we got back here in Florida. I like it here at St. Madeline's, and one of the reasons I'm here is I always promised myself that I would get to know my religion better. I always felt that I didn't know enough about my faith to understand and to help other people understand. So that's one of the reasons I came here. When you're working and everything, you don't have time. Kids and baseball and football and everything, it just gets in the way of trying to learn more about your faith. So that's one of the reasons I'm here. Also, is to learn more about my faith. So we live here in Turkey Creek. I was born in Michigan. I guess that's about all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony?
I don't know what to say. Well, I'm here because of this guy, right?
That's Sean.
Yeah, Sean.
We're all talking about how Chris needs to say, which kind is, definitely is, but this guy, I'm gonna embarrass you right now, bro. He is, I think he'll probably become the same before he dies at some point. Normally I wouldn't personally come here just because it's too early in the morning. Like, I love OCIA, but I also feel sleepy. So, I like to weightlift and stuff, and I love the Eucharist, big thing with the Eucharist. It's the greatest evidence we have for the existence of God is the Eucharist. I would take it every day, but instead I'm forced to rot in a classroom and learn nothing of value. So.
All right, that kind of sums it up. Sean, what do you want to tell us?
I'm Sean Cook. I'm originally from Ocean City, Maryland. I was born in Salisbury, and just recently moved out here this year. I'm big into motorsports. I like to play basketball, football, soccer, and I would love to rejoin the weightlifting team this year. That's all I got.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, and I'm here so I can become fully confirmed.
Very good, yes. John, right? Ed, I'm sorry.
Or Edward, Ed, my name is Ed Huckle. I'm single divorced, and I have one daughter and 8 grandchildren. Let's see, at present I'm retired. I retired about 4 years ago from the VA. I was a PharmD, doctor of pharmacy. Prior to that, I was a police officer in Gainesville. I'm actually from Miami. I was born in Miami, but I came to college in Gainesville and have pretty much stayed in this area. As a matter of fact, I lived in High Springs for probably 5 years, and while I worked at the VA, let's see what else is I presently live in Steenhatchee, Florida, if you've ever heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess my hobbies are fishing and taking care of my grandchildren.
Okay.
And I just have this strong desire to be in the Catholic Church. I was raised by my aunt until I was about 7 years old, and she decided to become a nun when she was 17. She passed away about a year ago. After I'm sure she was a nun for I think it was 53 years. I went to her golden anniversary in St. Pete. And that may have something to do with it.
I think so. I have a lot to do with it.
I didn't know I was had PD anxiety until just now. Sorry.
I'm going to kind of roll on what he was saying. George and I retired in 2019, and I'm also a PharmD. I was just going to roll out. Yeah. Nice to meet you. And I also worked in Miami for a while. We lived in Miami, we moved to Tennessee, and I worked in a hospital most of my career. And then we moved back to Florida from Tennessee. A few years ago, we have a house, we built a house over here in Alachua. And let's see what else. Oh, today we're celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary. Anyway, I started going to St. Madeline's in the beginning of this year. Returned Catholic, I was raised, and went to until my sophomore year in high school. And then we moved to Miami and then continued high school, Catholic high school. I ended up in a public school, which was a big shock. And I also came up here at the pharmacy school. And my sister met her husband one day when we were out, going out at night and all that, and she's been with him ever since. So anyway, she lives here too. I don't know if George wants to add anything, but sometimes I go around in a big circle before I get to my point.
George, you want to say anything?
I need to look. Yeah, we've been married 40 years.
40 years today.
And it's his birthday today, too.
We should say
So if it was a choice between...
We can do that. Happy birthday. Happy birthday have a little frivolity in all this.
I've never forgot my anniversary. So the list here, we don't have children. It never happened. I was an aircraft mechanic for 46 years, retired from FedEx in Memphis. I was born in Germany. Dad was in the military. So my father, my American side are all Catholics. Well, were raised Catholic. My German side are all Catholics except my grandfather. So we were raised Lutheran. And we were married in the Lutheran church. What else? So we've been here about 4.5 years. And I started my hobbies. I play disc golf and putts in the yard. And I'm here because of her. I actually told her yesterday, quit nagging me about it.
I'm not going to say anything else. I'm not saying anything else.
Well, we're glad to have you. Let's see, who could Ann?
Okay, my name's Ann Millard, and I moved up here from Miami about 25 years ago. I have a new grandbaby, and so now we've got four grandchildren. And I am a caregiver for my dad and babysit for my grandkids. So I mean, I'm running in 20 directions at one time, cities sometimes. But what else? I don't have much spare time. So I don't have hobbies. No time for hobbies. There's time for hobbies. I'm here today because, well, this is like my second year coming here.
Or third?
Is it? Or no?
It's at least 3.
Oh my goodness, okay. That's bad. That's a bad sign. That I haven't remembered that, but whatever. I'm coming because I, learned something new each time, and I kind of grew up at a time where, even though I was born Catholic, there was very little instruction of any value when I was growing up. So I feel like I learned, I didn't even know my faith, and as others have said, that you want to be able to have an answer for somebody when they ask you questions. So here I am, and plus I'm kind of an introverted person, so I don't have that knack of being able to talk like others do. I don't know, so I'm trying to.
You did a pretty good job.
I'm trying to leave it up to your sister. What?
Yeah, your sister makes up for that.
She does all the talking.
Well, thank you. Terry?
Hi, my name is Terry Molinari. My husband and I moved up here when we retired from the Keys in about 15 years ago. And he was a dentist in the Keys for 40 years. He passed away in April from Alzheimer's. We have 3 children, all grown in their 50s, and 5 grandchildren, pretty much grown up. One's an attorney, one's a nurse, the other one's back in school, another one's in training to be a teacher, and the other one can't make up his mind what to do. I studied medical technology, and then became a dental assistant when my office, my husband needed a dental assistant, and then the office manager, and we retired. And I grew up in New Orleans, that's where we met. And he was in dental school and I was in medical technology. My hobbies are art and graphic design, sewing. I do the bulletin for the church.
She does a very
good job, yes.
You're here.
And the reasons I'm here are faith growth, but especially like in light of what Deacon's homily was this morning, I really have this feeling in my heart that we need to be strong in our faith and that we're in for much worse times than what we're experiencing now. And that we need a community gathered around us for that reason too. When my husband and I moved up here in 2015, we were searching up Florida for where we were going to move. And every place we went to church there. And we picked this area because of the sincere and welcoming atmosphere at St. Madeline Church when we went to daily mass and when we started meeting a few of the people around here. Everybody needs a community like that. That's about it.
Thank you, Terry. And you, ma'am, the one who wandered in late over the, you want to introduce yourself? No, you. I told them you were giving blood.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Deacon Henry's wife. My name is Carol. And we've lived here, I guess, a little over 20 years now, from New Jersey. We have one daughter. She lives in Pittsburgh. She's 28. She is adopted from China, actually from Wuhan, China. So, let's see.
She didn't bring the virus with her.
No. Probably my favorite job was working in special education with severely handicapped children, but I didn't work in that area too long. After that, I worked in business for a pharmaceutical company, and that was my longest position. And I also worked for an attorney also, I guess for about 3 years, kind of an interim job. I was raised Catholic. But it probably wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I'm going to say, encountered God. And that's just for another time. That was just a very deep experience, and that really changed my life. I guess that's it.
Miss Melody, you want to say something? Everybody knows Melody.
Yes, everybody knows me. I'm Melody Lewis. I've been here in this town, High Springs, since 1974, so that's quite a few years. And I've seen the history of St. Madeline's, and I work with the Angels of Mercy here. I do liturgical volunteer with sacristan and the EMHC.
That's Extraordinary Minister of Holy Communion, for those who don't know.
And I graduated from UF. I went back to school later in life and graduated from the Business College of Information Systems. So right now I'm semi-retired, but the economy kind of pushed me back out into the marketplace, so I'm just doing a non-stressful job as merchandiser, learning new things, and I'm already getting promoted, so I love it.
Great.
Happy to be here.
Thank you, and she said sacristan too, but that's the person who sets up for mass and then cleans up afterwards, right? That's what the job of, that's what the sacristan is, as well as being, as I said, an extraordinary minister of Holy Communion. We'll talk about that in more detail later on. Let me start too with an apology. This is by no means the best place to do this. This is a house of prayer, a place where people come and pray. I feel so bad sometimes that during these classes, somebody unknowingly will walk in and say, oh, they're interrupting something, and then turn around and go away. We're supposed to be in that building next to the office, what the Knights of Columbus sign on it, the Activity Center it's called, and it's where we've always met there for years, but they decided that building needed renovation, and it did, but then the renovation hit some snafus, and everything kind of came to a halt, and they're still trying to unravel the snafu, and so here we are here. I hope. Now there we were able to have coffee and snacks and everything else. And here, this is a church, so coffee and snacks they're not appropriate here. Even though, again, I did reserve the Blessed Sacrament. The tabernacle is empty right now, so it's not. That's why we can kind of be a little more free-spirited, maybe. We're not in the presence of our Lord. He's in the back room. So my apologies for that. Some rumors I hear say that activity center might be done by Christmas, but you know, I don't know.
Which Christmas?
Which Christmas?
Well, if the government's involved, it's never going to be done.
It's even worse, the church is involved. They work on century, millennial time frame, right? Not just government maybe works on 4-year terms. But yeah, so we'll hopefully get ourselves back in there yet. Oh, you didn't introduce yourself. That's right. When you go, she was supposed to, okay. Yes, Mickey.
I really like the idea that I didn't have to do
Yeah,
this. My name's Mickey Ramsden. I have retired about 3 years ago from the VA. I was an RN. Before that, I was a paramedic. I was a CNA. I worked rescue. I have 3 children that I physically gave birth to, and I have 2 stepchildren. So that's 5, and I have 14 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. I'm single. My husband passed away a couple years ago, and I'm here because of this young man. We met, and I felt like God just started directing us together. I just put it in God's hands. I've always believed in God. I was raised in the Methodist church, and then I later went to the Baptist church, and I was baptized recently, not recently, within 15 years in the Baptist church. God's very, very important to me. I feel so blessed that He's in my life, and I'm so sad for all those people that don't have Him, because it's devastating. I was raised in southern Missouri. I moved to Florida in '79. I have had one step half-sister, and she passed away in 2018. And I took care of her for 5 years before she passed. Other than that, I had no siblings. I looked over this list of things that I shouldn't know. I've lived in the area, I live in Welborn, and I've lived there since '99. Yeah, let's stop and think. I love to read. I live on a 60-acre farm, or did. I've sold part of it since my husband passed. And I do a lot of yard work. Oh, a lot of yard work. Somebody said, "Oh, I like your beach tan." And I said, "Excuse me? I haven't been to the beach this year, but I've been on my riding lawnmower for 5 hours at a time, at least once or twice a week." And
looking forward to winter.
Oh, I am. I said that a couple of days ago when I was out mowing. I said, but it was really cute. One day I was so hot, well, the storm hit, and we were right over in the eye of it. And God was so good. I had 3 trees came down. One you could walk between my house and the tree. The other one touched the house, and the other one missed the barn. Nothing got really damaged other than there was a lot of yard work, a lot of tree limbs down. And so I was out raking, and I sat down just for a minute and had a drink of water, and I said, "Lord, just a little bit of shade and a little bit of breeze." Well, He gave me a little bit of shade and a little bit of breeze, but before I could get out of the yard, He drowned me with rain. And I said, "Okay, you didn't have to get carried away, but I appreciate it because it really felt good." I'm here. As I said, he and I met, and he's been Catholic all his life. And I feel like if you want a relationship, you really need to share that relationship wholeheartedly, and share it not only with the person that you care about, but with God. And God's directed us. I pray to Him, like, show me what you think I should do, and I'm here.
The Jews had it right. I have many Jewish students, and they've all said, "I would not consider marrying anybody other than a Jew." And that's smart. That really is smart. So, all right, did I miss anybody else?
Did everybody get a chance, except for Melody, to fill out our new directory? Anyone not fill this out? Okay, do it a second.
And does anybody have any objections if we share that information with the group here, give out your, text number and all that, email? Bob, you won't get any credit cards, but you get their social security numbers.
No, I didn't.
Mother's maiden name.
No, can't do it.
Okay. So I didn't forget, I have a list here that you got an important to-do list, okay? Let's just go over that quickly, because I often forget to say some of these kind of important things. It's going to take a while for me, certainly, and I think everybody, to get used to calling this OCIA. It used to be RCIA, which was really this name. RCIA stood for the Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults. Okay? But it isn't one rite, it's a whole collection of rites. Rites are liturgical things that happen during the course of the year. So a collection of rites is called an order. So just like last year, they said, we're gonna fix this. They changed the name to OCIA, the Order of Christian Initiation of Adults. So, but I mean, it's like, anybody remember when the Mass changed, when the Lord be with you, and the response was, and also with you, and then they changed it to, and with your spirit, which is the actual correct translation from the Latin. It took a long time to get used to saying, and with your spirit. Everybody for the longest time was saying, also with you. Which is really a strange translation when, Dominus vobiscum is the Lord be with you, et cum spiritu tuo is, and with your spirit. Why somebody translated that and also with you. It sounded like when someone said the Lord be with you, you responded right back at you. So that's gotten fixed, but it took a while for us to get used to that. Same thing here. For the few of you, Mickey and Sean and maybe Ed, but I think that, and George, if depends on George's here as an observer, but if you are currently not a Catholic, or if you're a Catholic but you have not received some or all of your sacraments, like if you never made your first communion or your confirmation and so forth, then OCIA proper is for you. And that's why you need to fill out that information sheet that I gave you, so I know exactly what you're here for, if you've been baptized, if you've been confirmed and all that sort of stuff, and what your marital situation is, because we need to fix that. So please fill out that information sheet. And if you've been baptized in another faith, I have yours already, Mickey, but I will need a copy of your certificate of baptism. The Catholic Church is very records oriented. We have to keep accurate records so that in 50 years, if somebody comes back and asks for something, we can go back and find whatever happened. Doesn't matter what church you were baptized in. I know a lot of Protestant churches don't keep records the way we keep records. They don't give you a certificate of baptism. They don't have a registry, but just whatever you can provide. If you can't do it, don't worry about it. I mean, the worst case analysis, if you came from a church where they just don't keep records and they don't have any certificates or books to look at, you'll need is a letter stating that, and maybe with a witness saying, I was there, I know so-and-so was baptized in this church at the altar call, they went up and then they dumped the person, and just something so we can have some paper. Also, if you're going to receive the sacrament of confirmation, you will need a sponsor. So I guess you would be her sponsor, Anthony, you would be his sponsor, and if you're going to, you will need, for confirmation, you will need a sponsor, okay? If you can't find one, it's sort of like when you get arrested, you know, you have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford one will be provided. You have the right to be a sponsor. If you can't provide one, we can provide one for you. However, it often happens that you'll get to know people in this room so well that you'll perhaps ask one of them to be your sponsor. George, it'd be the same for you if you decide that this is something you want to do. To be a sponsor, what are the qualifications for a sponsor? You have to be a so-called fully initiated Catholic. So that means that you are baptized and confirmed and you're a Catholic in good standing. Okay? What does that mean? What does it mean to be a Catholic in good standing? Well, in that sense, we're very much minimalist. There are 5 precepts of the Church, and these are the bare minimum of what you need to do if you want to call yourself a practicing Catholic. So I put them there at the bottom. If you choose a sponsor, Catholics must attend Mass on Sundays, every Sunday, unless you're sick or something like that, right? Or traveling and can't find a church or that sort of thing. You have to attend Mass every Sunday and on holy days of obligation. So, for example, we just had August 15th, the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. We'll talk more about what all that means, but that's a holy day of obligation. You have to go to confession at least once a year. Okay, how's that for a minimum? Once you're required to go to confession at least once a year. Many people like to go monthly, right? But minimum is one. There are some people that go more frequently than that. You must receive Holy Communion at least once a year during the Easter season. Okay? Again, you know, we've had this change. When I was a kid, when you went to a church on a Sunday, Catholic church on a Saturday afternoon, there were 4 priests hearing confession, and you had to wait in line sometimes for a half an hour with other people. The church was packed with people going to confession. And then on Sunday, the next day, most people did not go to communion. You don't have to go to communion when you go to church. It's not the only person that has to go to communion is the priest. No one else. We'll talk more about that. Now it's just the opposite, right? Now nobody goes to confession. People say things like, "Why should I don't commit any sins? You know, why do I need to go to confession? Work." Okay? But yet on Sunday, everybody goes to communion pretty much. And to receive communion worthily, you have to be what we call in the state of grace. If you're conscious of serious sin on your soul, you should not go to communion until you go to confession. But based on what we see, everybody goes. So we'll talk more about that. You have to observe the days of fasting and abstinence established by the church. That's no meat on Fridays during Lent, and then Ash Wednesday and Good Friday are days of fasting. And again, Catholic fasting is pretty lame fasting, you know. I remember talking to a Jew once, and they said to me, "You Catholic, you don't know what fasting means." I'm sorry. To a Jew, fasting means no food, you know. Water, that's it. Zero, nothing else. Actually, Christy, the Orthodox too, if you follow the Orthodox count, you know, fasting means fasting. You know, what does fasting mean for us? You can have, I don't know, you can have 2 meals, third meal can't add up to a full meal or something. Right, anyway. Now, a lot of people can't fast, right? If you've never fasted before, try it. You know, your speech gets slurred, you know, you get a little bit woozy at times, you know, so some people shouldn't fast. If you're a nurse, you should do something else. You don't want to go see your patient and, how much morphine did you use? No. But most of us are not in that situation, right? So we'll talk about more, but that you follow the laws of fasting and abstinence and help provide for the needs of the church. Okay, so a lot of people fail to understand that, you know, that this is a universal church. This is not just St. Madeline's, right? St. Madeline's is a parish in the Church of St. Augustine, where Bishop Pohlmeyer is our bishop, and we are part universal church with a pope in Rome and so forth. So all that has operational expenses. Somebody has to pay for the electricity. We don't get free electricity. We don't get, we're on a well, so I guess we get free water. But, we have to pay for things to keep the lights on, the air conditioning, just like anybody else. So upkeep of the church. And it's not just money. I mean, we talk about when we say that you shall help provide for the needs of the church according to your ability, right? There's three things: time, talent, and treasure. Some people, if you're retired living off Social Security on a fixed income, right now, with the economy, you're probably not getting enough money to make ends meet yourself, But time is also a way of helping the church, like some of you here volunteer in the office, right? Or talent, I know how to do X. We have a man who was working in irrigation systems for his whole career. He retired, and he goes, I can help you with your irrigation system. That kind of stuff, So anyway, that's what it means to follow the precepts of the church. We'll talk about the schedule in a minute, because if you need a marriage annulment, this must be completed before the rite of election, which happens early in Lent. And the tribunal right now, for those who need an annulment, is horribly backed up. I think they have 900 cases or so, 950 cases on the docket. Are they going to finish you in time? It's not a word, okay? If annulment is not completed by that time, you don't just have to come into the church during the Easter Vigil, which we'll talk about. If it takes more time, we bring you in when you're ready to enter. We've done that a lot. There's been other people who have run into little snags along the way, but when they were ready, we welcome them in. So that's just something to keep in mind. Also, if you're going to be making, and this is again another one I often forget to say, so that's why I wrote it down for myself this time, you have the option of choosing a new name for your confirmation. So you may have heard people choose a confirmation name. When I was confirmed in 6th grade or whatever it was, I chose the name Stephen, after an uncle. But you don't have to do that. As a matter of fact, a lot of people, I tend to agree, the sacraments of baptism and confirmation are so closely tied together that keeping your baptismal name kind of makes sense for your confirmation name. It's entirely up to you. Then again, for many of you, you see this as a new opening in your life. A new way of life has been opened for you. And it's kind of an ancient tradition that with a new way of life, you can take on a new name, right? That's why you see like Franciscan priests, whatever their name was, you don't know, but their Father Joseph Mary or something like that. So it could be a man or a woman. If you want to take the name Mary for a confirmation name, you are certainly free to do so. It doesn't have to be, if you're a man, it doesn't have to be a man's name. Often it is, often you choose. A lot of times Sean, I don't want to put any ideas into your head, but I've seen people your age want to stick to their parents and come up with some really crazy name for their confirmation name. St. Moses the Black or something like that. Why did you do that? Maybe your confirmation name was Augustine?
Yeah, so
you were Augustine, so that was a sensible name. Your parents would be happy.
I mean, with how much I aggravate them, I don't know.
That's right. You're at the age where you should be aggravated. You'll grow out of it. You can tell them, relax, you'll grow out of it. And then you become like us, the rest of us old folks. Not all of us are old. Some of you are young. I'm not old. Okay. So any questions on that to-do list?
Do they go together?
Christy's not. Was that?
Is this you old and fogies go together?
I don't know. Let's ask our legal expert here. Do old and fogey go together? Do old and fogey go together? Do you have to use those two together in conjunction with each other? Or can you be old and not a fogey, or can you be a fogey and not old?
It's understood.
Okay. The other thing I handed out here is our tentative schedule. Okay. I've had others look at this because I make mistakes. There was a time when I put on each week what topic we'd be discussing, but that never worked because, you know, part of the experience here is being able to talk about the faith at a serious level, no holds barred, right? Whatever needs to, the church is every aspect of your life. The church is part of it, and even parts of your life where some people will say, it's kind of private, isn't it? Well, what part of your life is God not invited? And that doesn't make any sense, does it? God is all-knowing and all-seeing and with you in every aspect of your life. So we get off into discussions sometimes. So what I did instead is simply put the calendar dates on which we meet, and then in the right column there, topics to be discussed during that period. So the church has this broken down into really, 4 periods, 4 phases, shall we call them. I have it as 5 here. Phase number 1, which we're kind of in now, is the pre-catechumenate, or the inquiry phase. I mean, there are going to be a lot of people who are scratching their heads and saying, gee, I don't know, maybe God is calling me to the Catholic Church, but and so they're exploring, they're searching. Okay, so here we are in that inquiry phase. Again, there's no commitment here. I've had people in the many years I've been doing this that have gone through OCIA 3 or 4 times before they finally said, yes, this is something I want to do. So, everybody is welcome here to sit here and listen and learn and decide if the time is right for you here and now. That's kind of between you and God, right? So no arm twisting. But I did put in some critical things, like date-wise. For example, next week is Labor Day weekend. It's probably better that we don't meet. Okay? A lot of people do travel, go away for the weekend, have family come for the weekend and so forth. So we tend to observe holidays. Other than that, I put in warnings about, for example, on October 27th, daylight savings time ends. Okay? Friday, November 1st is All Saints Day. Since it's on a Friday, I'm trying to remember if the bishops decided if that's a holy day of obligation this year. I looked it up. And I can't remember what I looked. Sometimes, like certain feasts, like the Assumption that we had August 15th was the Assumption. That's a holy day of obligation. Sometimes if it falls close to a Sunday, though, it won't be, So I'll let you know. I looked it up, and I don't remember what it is I looked up. Normally, All Saints Day, November 1st, and that's a Friday, is a holy day of obligation. A holy day of obligation means the day is so important that it gets elevated to the dignity of a Sunday. Okay? And so we all gather for Mass. On a Friday, for example, it's a weekday, people work, so the noon Mass at St. Augustine's in Gainesville is going to be packed for that Mass, right? It's going to be standing room only. Here at St. Madeline's, it'll be a full church, but people who work, they'll probably go to Mass at Queen of Peace or Holy Faith or St. Patrick's, or when if they work in Gainesville. I put, just to remind everybody, November 3rd is we're going to meet, but Election Day is that following Tuesday, November 5th. And vote no on Amendment 4, right? Amendment 4 is an evil amendment. It would make Florida the state with the most liberal abortion laws in the entire country. Abortion at any time for any reason, from conception to birth. You can have an abortion. You could get it has to be approved by a competent medical professional. That doesn't mean doctor. There's no doctor has to be involved here. The medical professional could be the person working at the abortion clinic. Could say, yes, you need an abortion. Your high school guidance counselor could tell a student, yes, have, no medical intervention. Your gym teacher could say, have an abortion. That's how loose the language of that. Should have brought some of those brochures. Let's bring them next time, Carol. Parental notification, but no parental consent. If you're a minor, 13 years old, you don't need your parents' consent to have an abortion. You need a parents' consent to be given an aspirin in school. We have a teacher here, any teachers, the current teachers?
But I had to deal with like having to go to the nurse because the principal saw that I had pills on me. So I had to go to the nurse to get it registered. Then I had to call my mom, who's at work, and she's a nurse. And it was like a bunch of hoops to jump through. And we literally had the kids hitting the Benjamin, that's slang for a weed vape, in the bathroom. And fentanyl. We had 2 middle school girls a couple years ago overdose on fentanyl. But when I had pills for when it was like when I had like that stomach bug. Right. Yeah, but that has to go through the nurse, but not fentanyl.
So the way it's going to be, you could have an abortion without any parental consent. They have to notify your parents, but that means they'll send them a text message. Ding, your child was having an abortion.
Hey, we murdered your grandbaby, but we're just letting you know we didn't ask you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And what was the one? I lost my train of thought. What was the next one, Carol? What was the next one? No parental consent, abortion under any circumstances, and there was third. You remember the third one? There was a third one for that too. It would be the most liberal abortion law in the country. Florida would be the state for abortions. And so it's very simple. When Amendment 4, vote no. Yeah.
The one that offends me the most is it makes legal partial birth and abortion.
That's right. That's right. As long as the head comes out.
And isn't it even if the baby's born alive, they can let the baby die?
Yes.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
As long as it was an abortion, even if the baby survived the abortion.
Well, there's some powerful witnesses of people who were aborted, but the abortion was botched. And when they were thrown in the garbage, they were thrown in the garbage alive, and they survived. And now they're pro-life speakers, saying that, you're in. They wanted to abort me, and they threw me in the garbage, and I survived. And they tell me what's wrong with me. I'm perfectly fine. Anyway, that's I put that here as a reminder.
Did you see what they had at the DNC? The bus? I call them child sacrifice mobile, is what I call them.
Yeah. It's like going to get your abortion in the back of a food truck, right?
Pretty much. Here's the thing, this has been a thing through like all through human history. Like before it was like, we're gonna sacrifice our baby to Moloch and Baal so we'll get food this summer. Now it's, we're gonna go have an abortion so we can go and be promiscuous. It's the same idea. It's the same thing, pretty much.
It's a very dangerous time in this country right now. We're really at a turning point. If certain people are elected to office, I am convinced they will come after the Catholic Church and do whatever, because we are, I know a lot of places don't like it. If you're not Catholic, you don't like to hear this, but we are that city on hill. We're that bright shining star that is serving as a thorn in their side. And I think if certain people get it, they will come after us with a vengeance. With a vengeance. Scary. It's very scary. Pray like you've never prayed before for all this to be defeated. So we have some level of standard. Unbelievable. Putting tampons in boys' bathrooms in high school in case a girl or who's been transgender needs to use the boys' room and needs a tampon. Explain that to me. Explain that to me. A boy who gets expelled from school because he wears a T-shirt that says there are only 2 genders. Smell that? That's scary times. Pray, pray, pray.
Certain people do mean godless, Marxist, communist, atheistic, hateful, misogynistic, and human-hating Democrats.
Thank you for saying that. I'm not allowed to say it.
Well, I can say it.
But you can didn't say it back to you.
If you vote for Kamala Harris, you may well put a gun. I'll say that. I think you're supporting that. I mean, pure and simple.
I don't see how you could support a candidate that is so pro-abortion and dare to call yourself Catholic. It's not, it doesn't make sense, which is why they're going to come after us,
Yeah, but I'm soberly, because even though I get scared about what may happen if they come after me, I know that the bishop and the pope have my back.
You see what I mean, how we can somehow stray off topic? But a very important straying off topic at the same time.
Sometimes I say things out loud and I'm thinking, hey, wait a minute, was that out loud? You're getting into your dotage, Deborah. You gotta be careful. You can't just gotta be careful what you say out loud.
We're getting to the point where the conservatives, put that in quotation marks, are just as bad as the Democrats. J.D. Vance supports the abortion bill. He supports gay marriage. Like, he can't get married. That's not the thing that they're all here supporting. I know. What do they conserve?
Well, you know, I mean, at the same time, if you're truly Catholic and profess Catholic beliefs, you'll never get elected in this country right now. You will not get elected. That's what it's, you know, what do you do? I mean, I could never be a politician because I would say what I believe and mean what I said. And people would say, we're not voting for that person. It's going to take divine intervention. That's why we need to pray, pray, pray. God can make this happen. God can make this happen. But
my dad's a Protestant, but he does a lot of studying the Revelations. And so one of the things he said, well, in the Bible it does say it will forbid the eating of meat and marriage. So what's wrong with gay marriage? That defeats the purpose of marriage. I'll come to one time.
yeah, well, Scripture warns us about the perversions that were happening and will happen. But
I'll just say one last little thing about Amendment 4. You really described the horrors of Amendment 4 and how evil it is, but I want people to understand that just because people here may think it's evil and therefore it has no chance, under the Florida Constitution, an amendment can be passed if it reaches 60% of the people voting for it. And right now we have about 53-55% favoring it, according to polls. And we have, you know, a little over 2 months left before the election, and it has been gaining in support over time. And so, we all have to be very diligent. We have to be outspoken. We have to explain why this is not a good thing, why it is evil, why should we vote no.
we'll bring some literature. We don't meet next week, but I'll bring you something the following week. All right, just to finish the schedule, the second phase is called the catechumenate. Catechumenate, it's a Greek term that means, the literal meaning is according to the echo. So Jesus taught his disciples, and his disciples taught people, and they taught people, and they taught people, and they taught people, and they taught people, and here we are 2,000 years later with the same echoing of the words of Jesus to his disciples, his apostles, who are an apostolic church. And so that's the catechumenate period where you can see the topics we discussed then. And then for those entering the church, there's a period of purification and enlightenment. And that's the third phase. The fourth phase isn't really a phase, but I separated that out because that's kind of the culmination of everything. That's when you would be coming into the church at the Easter Vigil. And then mystagogia is the fourth phase. Mystagogia means according to the mystery. So in the ancient church, you really didn't talk about a lot of the things that we talk about in the OCIA until you were baptized. Not because they were trying to keep it hidden, but it was understood that without the grace of the sacrament, you would not be capable of understanding what was said. You know, your mind would be closed. You need that infusion of divine grace And so it was after the baptism, that's why it's called the period of mystagogia. It was after your baptism that now you learn about the sacraments, you learn about the Eucharist, you learn about those things, because now that you've been born again by water and the Holy Spirit, now you're capable of entering into those mysteries more deeply. That's for us, that's what mystagogia means, okay? You enter the church.
Zachary put these in here.
What is it?
This is the amendment.
Oh, yeah.
And so not enough for everyone, but those who don't know anything about it.
Please. And those look like a little different, are they different? They're Spanish. Or they,
Oh, no. The front one was English.
So maybe they're just.
That was a baby switch.
And I'm sorry, anyone here know Spanish? Okay, go ahead.
Marisol has.
Marisol, take one. One side is for like the Floridians, the other side is.
I have three.
Okay, so for us, mystagogia simply means entering more deeply into the mysteries.
She'll take the Spanish one, she'll translate it. So that there's enough other English.
Oh, yeah, I'll give this to like one of like the really like mean senior girls who kind of have it. I'll just walk up to her and be like, here you go. See what she reacts. No problem, listen.
And by the way, Father Sebastian, our pastor, just walked in. Want to say anything? No. Okay. But you all know Father Sebastian? Everybody knows Father Sebastian, right? No one here doesn't know him, not know him, so. All
I
right.
have one English one left, if someone wants one now.
We'll bring it up a bunch. There might be some in the narthex of the church, too, on the table. Maybe. Probably there are. Terry, do you know? Are there any there?
I don't think so.
Don't think so. You know how bad it is? I mean, we put out, Zachary, the shrine director, put out hundreds of them, and they all disappeared like that. And I heard that same thing is happening in Jacksonville. People are taking them all and destroying them because they don't want people educated on that issue. It's evil. It is evil. It's evil. So, all right. Time is pressing on here. You have a sheet that says, why do Catholics ... 2 question marks. Okay. This is not for here and now. This is for you to take and tell me if there's anything that, for example, in the Catholic Church, I'm not sure why they, if you're asked, I'm not sure I believe ... 3. I would like to know what the Catholic Church teaches about ... I don't really understand, number 4 ... So this is something for you to, give me some. We're probably going to talk about a lot of the things, but just in case, there's so much, you can't talk about everything. So I would know to make sure we do hit on certain things. I think tied into that, I also handed out, this is one of the staple documents, and this is not for us to read now, this is for you to think about, read about, and start to develop your thought process here. It's entitled 12 Myths Every Catholic Should Be Able to Answer. So we could just look at the points it raises, and then you have the response to that here. But again, we could talk about it in greater depth. Number 1 is, there's no such thing as absolute truth. What's true for you may not be true for me. You hear that all the time today, right? That's your truth, it's not my truth. How do you respond to that? This is kind of what we want to, why we're going to be here, what we're going to be looking at through this year. Now, number 2 is what you often hear is, all religions are Christianity is no better than any other faith. All religions lead to God. So you decide if you want to be Christian or Buddhist or Hindu or whatever you want to be. Number 3, the Old and New Testaments contradict one another. If God inspired the Bible, He would never have allowed these errors. Again, take a look, see what you think. Number 4, I don't need to go to church. As long as I'm a good person, that's all that really matters. And I love, Andy, I've used your words countless times that we are gold medal rationalizers. We can take whatever we do and say, in my case, it's okay. In my case, God understands. You know, and so what it really means is what it means when you say I'm a good person, and what it really means is I'm not Hitler. You know, that's really what it means. I don't kick little puppies on the street when I see them. I'm a good person. So take a look at that. And this is all food for thought for you to start to develop your thinking. You don't need to confess your sins to a priest. You can go straight to God. Former Protestants in this room, boy, they stand on that one. You know, we don't need the priest in that. We can just go straight to God. What's number 6? If the church truly followed Jesus, they would sell their lavish art, property, and architecture and give the money to the poor. These are typical attacks that you hear. I've heard this one a lot. Dissent, by dissent it means saying, you're wrong, church. I'm a Catholic and I'm telling you, Catholics, you're wrong. Dissent is actually a positive thing, since we should all keep our minds open to new ideas. All these things that you hear over and over and over. Number 8 is a big one today. Properly interpreted, the Bible does not condemn homosexuality. Rather, it weighs against promiscuity, whether homosexual or heterosexual. Therefore, we have no reason to oppose loving homosexual relationships. Very common today, and probably getting close to the time when if you say anything against homosexual relationships, you'll be fined, if not arrested, and sent to jail for hate speech. Which is happening in first world countries like Europe, England. You speak out against, if you say anything, so things that I've said here today to you would be enough to have you arrested and put in jail and fined.
Can you really call Europe a first world country anymore with all the Muslims?
In terms of technology and lifestyle and whatnot. America's a first world country, certainly. Compared to their third world countries, where the faith is thriving, by the way, too.
Yeah, that is true.
Isn't that interesting?
It's almost like when you tell someone not to do something first.
That's right. The best way to, back in the days of communism, Christianity was thriving in Poland and so forth, because the best way to get somebody to do something is to tell the government they can't. Right? Now that communism has fallen, Poland is having a lot of problems pulling away from the faith. There's all of a sudden a priest crisis in Poland. Can you believe it? When there was a lot of priests, they were ordaining them and sending them out of the country because there were so many priests. Now there's a shortage. So, this stuff is real. This stuff is real. Catholics should follow their conscience in all things, number 9. Whether it's abortion or birth control or women's ordination. So it gives you a flavor. There's a couple in here more. Natural family planning is just birth control, Catholic birth control. Number 11, somebody can be pro-choice and Catholic at the same time. Number 12, people's memories of past lives prove that reincarnation is true. These are all things that you hear today. And I think the reason all of us are in this room is we want to be ready and able to counter these arguments when we hear them. So again, this is just to whet your appetite, to stimulate your thinking, and we get into far, far more detail about about all these sort of issues as the year progresses. Questions so far? Anybody? Anything, team? Andy, Christy, Bob, anybody, Carol?
I'll just go back to the confession part. And it's something you taught a year or two ago that has stuck with me so strongly in this motivation for coming to this class. And that is, the closer we get to God, the more we are aware of our sins. And that's kind of profound to me. The people saying, I don't sin, they probably never think of God.
That's right. I think that's true.
And this reminds us that there is sin, that there is God. He is the boss.
Well, I've heard even, one of the hardest people to evangelize with is families, right? But I've had family members tell me, well, I'm sure God's very pleased with me. Okay. Okay. The closer you get to God, the more aware you are of your sin, your unworthiness, the little things you do, the pettiness, the thoughts, all those things that we have to constantly fight against. You don't think about them when you don't think about God. Everything is fine, everything is great. But even the tiniest speck of sin is hideous ugliness in the sight of God. And nothing, heaven is living the life of the Trinity, being united with the triune God. You're living within the Trinity. Nothing unclean, nothing sinful can ever enter that union. That's why we have in His mercy things like God's mercy, things like purgatory, for any taints of sin that have been unrepented of have to be purified before you could enter into the glory of God's Trinity. Again, I'm not going to read this here, this is for you. There's something, Christians have a strict duty to develop their understanding of the faith. This, I think, is one of the biggest problems that the church, the Catholic Church, faces today. I think we have hordes of Catholics out there that think all you need to do is go to Mass on Sunday, throw your envelope in the collection basket, and maybe, I don't know, is there anything else to really, that's all. So I know Catholics, which that's all they do, Catholic, I can't hardly say it, I can't say a Catholic sport. There's a sign I saw that says Catholics for a name that begins with an H. I can't say it, but you can. A person whose name begins with an H and vote for that person.
For Harris, yes. I thought you were saying hell.
No. Well, that's the same thing.
They're synonymous.
It's such a contradiction. It's such a contradiction. So, there's so much more. God is calling us to so much more. And we're settling, we just want to settle for that. If we only were to settle for the mediocre, maybe that wouldn't be so bad. But we want to, we're settling for so much less than even mediocre, And God is saying, no, I have greatness in store for you. Why are you resisting? Why are you resisting?
I think this problem, that it's obviously primarily the problem of selfishness, the pride of life, and thinking of too highly of yourself. But I feel like not only we accept it for mediocre among Catholics, that just in general society, even the way our liturgy has changed, it's been more focused on the parishioner. Like with and don't get me wrong, I love the Mass, but the altar facing the people, right, making it about the people. It's not about the people, it's about the Eucharist, right? Having it in vernacular so it's more friendly to the people. It's like even the liturgy is given into this selfish culture. It's like the unholy Trinity, me, myself, and I.
That's right.
So it's like if we want to see this change in Catholics that aren't as zealous as us, we need to start being that change. We need to go back more to tradition and live
The words of John the Baptist, I must decrease so that he might increase. You know, the first thing we ought to say about it, it's not about me. It's not about me. And if you think it's about you, refer to part. But statement 1, it's not about me. Statement 2, if you think it's about you, go back to statement 1. How does that go? You know, it's not about us. You know, it's all about Christ. I gave you, I don't know if I have it here, but that's okay, I don't need it. Oh, there's another handout again for you to read with a very provocative title. Does God want everybody to be Catholic? Take a look at that. Just as, you know, when already looking at keeping an eye on time, it's 10:40. But when we come back in 2 weeks, please look at these so we can raise some questions about that. We have an RCIA mission statement, okay, which I think sets the tone for not just RCIA, but it sets the tone for our entire life. The OCIA mission statement is the first sentence of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, which you should have there. God, infinitely perfect and blessed in himself, and a plan of sheer goodness, freely created man to share in his own blessed life. That's it. That's everything. Right there. That's what it's all about. God, infinitely perfect and blessed in himself. God needs nothing. Nothing, right? There's no reason for God to create us. There's not a single speck that we can do to add to God's greatness. He is infinitely perfect and blessed in himself. Doesn't need anything. In a plan of sheer goodness. In other words, out of an act of pure love. Freely created man. He had no reason to do it. He freely chose to do it. Nothing coerced him to do it. Nothing made him do it. He freely chose to do it. And why did he choose to do it? Out of love. So that we could share in his own blessed life. That's a statement every Catholic should commit to memory and use for their personal mission statement. God, infinitely perfect and blessed in himself, and a plan of sheer goodness, freely created man to share in his own blessed life. That's what our life is all about. It's not about me, it's about God's goodness in creating me so that I can share in his life. And when we, talk about, when we get to it, I think, Sean, I gave you a copy of the Baltimore Catechism for you to look at. That basic question, why did God make me? God made me, and the answer, question-answer format anybody can understand. I think it's the first question in the Catechism. Why God made me to know him, to love him, and serve him in this life, and be happy with him forever and ever. So there's nothing about being happy in this life. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. To know, love, and serve God, that is all that we're about. Knowing God, loving God, serving God. Knowing God means what I handed out here. Christians have an obligation, a strict duty to develop their understanding of the faith. If you commit a sin, and you can't say, well, I didn't know, if you have the opportunity to educate yourself on whether it was a sin or not. So, for example, if you were living in the Civil War era and you were pro-slavery and there was a speaker coming to town that was a noted abolitionist, you can say you're obligated to go hear what the guy has to say. Now, if you don't, well, why didn't you? If you didn't, because, I watch TV. He's here on a Friday night. I watch TV on Friday night. You're culpable for the sin of slavery, should you have a slave. If you don't, because, well, I got a sick parent or something, or a sick child I have to stay home and care for, the degree of culpability is less. This is all from St. Thomas Aquinas, probably the greatest theologian that ever lived. He tells us very clearly, we have the obligation to learn and understand our faith. That's why God gave us an intellect, right? That's why we're unlike the animals. We're rational animals. We're animals, but we're rational animals.
choose between good and evil, right? Between right and wrong. When I do that, your eye looks over there, right, to what I'm pointing at. When I do that to a dog, the dog just looks at my hand. Right? He doesn't understand what that means. Everything in this created universe is transcendent. It points to something beyond itself. And we're obligated, as Catholics, to understand that to the best of our ability. And if you can't, you can't. There is a category that I fall into, really. It's called invincible ignorance. You know, I'm too stupid to really know that. So you can be covered there. But okay, and again, I'm watching the clock. One good thing about this room is it has a clock right there. We won't do this today, but we'll do this for sure. When we come back in 2 weeks, we'll do this next time. So you have some time to reflect on the Catholic faith and assessment quiz. 16 true or false questions here for you to think about. So again, this is all to stimulate your thought process, to get you thinking. Yes, Bob?
It would be very helpful if everyone would bring their handouts back.
Yes, thank you. Because then otherwise we may not have them, or
We won't have enough to do it.
Yeah. So if you want, we could get it. If anybody would like a binder or something, we could go into our cabinet there in the activity center and dig them out. We have them in there and bring them next time. So if anybody would like a 3-ring binder, let me know. Okay. And kind of in closing here, the last handout maybe is something from Mark's Gospel, the story of the blind Bartimaeus. Would somebody have that? Would somebody like to read that for us? Anybody? Volunteer? Yeah, please, Sean.
They came to Jericho, and as he was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind man, the son of Timaeus, stopped by the roadside begging. On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out, saying, Jesus, son of David, have pity on me. And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he kept calling out all the more, Son of David, have pity on me. Jesus stopped and said, Call him. So they called him the blind man, saying to him, Take courage, get up, he is calling you. He threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus. Jesus replied to him, What do you want from me to do for you? The blind man replied to him, Master, I want to see. Jesus told him, Go your way, your faith has saved you. Immediately he recovered his sight and followed him all the way.
Thank you. This is, our name is Bartimaeus, each and every one of us. If you're a student at all of the Gospel of Mark, you know one of the hallmarks of Mark's Gospel is that Jesus is constantly on the move. I forgot the number of times the word immediately is used in Mark's Gospel, but it's a huge number of times, or in some translations, instead of immediately, it says, and then, and then, and then, and then. You almost lose your breath with the activity of Jesus in Mark's Gospel. He's constantly going. Scripture scholars sometimes, they say, wait a minute, how did he get from here to there in such a short time? It takes more time than what it suggests to get from here to there. Jesus is constantly on the move, non-stop in Mark's Gospel. It's one of the hallmarks of that Gospel. So, 2 words in this passage that Sean just read that should jump out of that page and hit you in the face. You know what those 2 words are? Jesus stopped. That is a shocker in Mark's Gospel. Jesus stopped. And why did he stop? Because a blind beggar was sitting on the side of the road, and he went there wise. Maybe he had help getting there because because he heard that Jesus was going to be passing by. So he came. And as he hears the commotion, as Jesus is passing by, the blind beggar basically cries out, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And Jesus stops. Unbelievable. For a blind beggar. And what does Jesus ask Bartimaeus? He says, "What do you want from me?" And Bartimaeus says, "Lord, I want to see." And Jesus says, "Go, your faith is saved." And his sight was restored. I don't care if you're the Pope. I don't care if you have 3 PhDs in theology. I don't care what you know or who you are. We are in this room, and we are blind beggars. That's all we are blind beggars. That's why we begin our sacred liturgy every time with the words, "Lord, have mercy." Why do we have that liturgy? Why did we go there? Because we heard Jesus would be passing by. Jesus would be coming up the altar. And our only response as blind beggars is, "Lord, have mercy on me. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy." And Jesus stops. If you think you're big shot, if you think you know it all, Jesus will keep walking right on by. You want Jesus to stop for you and to ask you, "What do you want me to do for you?" You need to approach him as a blind beggar. A blind beggar. And to answer him, it's why we're in this room. "Lord, I want to see." There's more than one way of seeing, right? Yeah, there are blind people who can't see anything, and that's the case with Bartimaeus. He was blind, and the beggar because of that, and his sight was restored. But I'm blind. I'm the first to admit that I'm blind. I dare say you're blind. And if you want Jesus to say to you, "Your faith has saved you," and receive sight, acknowledge your blindness, acknowledge your poverty. You're just a beggar sitting on the side of the road. That has to be our attitude as we continue throughout this entire our OCIA program. It's what we're all about. God, infinitely perfect and blessed in himself, and a plan of sheer goodness, freely created man to share his own blessed life. What a noble call that we are called to. How many of us are blind to that desire for God. All right. So, are there any questions? We're getting close to the time. I was hoping we could do that faith assessment quiz, but that's okay. You look at it, we'll talk about it next time. Not next weekend. We don't meet next week because of Labor Day weekend, the following weekend. So give you plenty of time to look things over. Please, please, please ask questions. That's what this is all about. It's not a classroom format where I stand up here and battle on for 2 hours or something. I mean, I want to know what's going on in your life. I want you to respond and ask questions and tell me. Nothing? No? Andy, you're never at a loss for words. Say something.
I think we've got a good beginning and a great class, and I know we're all looking forward to learning more about our faith and moving further and further toward Jesus.
How about the rest of the team? Carol, anything you want to add? Christy?
Just happy you're here, and we're here to help and support you, and don't feel shy to ask questions. I know we're sort of in a classroom setup here, but when we were in our activity room, it was more like around the table and
with coffee and donuts.
It's very casual. Yes, and always snacks, and we want to have fun, but we also just care a lot about what your questions and concerns are, so we can help you.
Bob, anything?
I can't imagine anyone attending these classes regularly and not have a happier life. Gives us a better direction of where we're going.